Star Wars Jedi Power Battles isn't a game I expected to get a re-release or a remaster. There are other Star Wars games that are a little bit more well known that I would have thought would have been higher in the pecking order. But Aspyr have decided that the 2000 classic needed a little bit of TLC, and admittedly it did. Now, I don't know many people who played Jedi Power Battles, but for me, it was one of those Star Wars games growing up that I played a lot on the Dreamcast. It wasn't the best Star Wars game ever made, and it didn't really set the world alight, but I have extremely vivid memories of it, so while this is a surprise to be sure, it is a welcome one. But of course, Aspyr and their remasters have been hit or miss to say the least. Some have been good, some have been pretty bad, and while messing this one up wouldn't be as catastrophic as messing up, say, Star Wars Battlefront, the question is Jedi Power Battles Remaster worth buying for those that have played it before and for those that have never played it? Well, thanks to Aspyr, I got to play it early and I think I have the answer for you. So let's get into the video. So let's talk about the thing most of you are going to want to know about in a remaster, and that is the visuals of the game. How does the game look compared to 25 years ago? Wow, 25 years. Well, surprisingly, it actually looks pretty damn good. The original game did look atrocious, and I say that as someone who played it religiously as a kid, and I was pleasantly surprised when I got into the game to find they have done a pretty impressive job in improving the visuals. I remember the character models in the original were literally unrecognisable. They didn't have faces, it was just polygons with some colours, but in the remaster, although they don't look perfectly matched, characters actually have models that look like human beings, and most of the time look like the characters they're representing. On top of that, the textures for the environments, all of the droids and enemies are extremely good in most places, and I definitely appreciated how improved Jedi Power Battles looks in this remaster. These higher resolution textures give the more archaic low poly models more life to them that they didn't have in the original game. Clothing on all of the characters looks a little bit sharper and more realistic. The battle droids and enemies have a depth to them that they didn't have before, and I'll even go as far as to say as the lighting has been improved in some locations, but I'm not entirely sure if that is something they have done. It just looked better in places. However, with that said, there is a little bit of inconsistency with the quality of the characters. For example, Qui-Gon looks vastly improved, whereas Padme still looks like she belongs on the PS1. So I don't know why some characters got some love and some characters didn't, but hey-ho. The game also runs extremely smoothly, which is a blessing because this game can be pretty damn hard at times. In fact, Jedi Power Battles is quite well renowned for being an absurdly difficult game, at least by 2000 standards. However, this praise doesn't mean it's perfect. The remaster does have some problems. For example, there's a lot of audio desynchronization in the game, audio which is cut off in random places, some of the lightsaber sounds won't work, some of the blaster sounds won't play, some of the music is a bit skewed, which can be a little bit of a problem because this is basically a 2000 Star Wars Sekiro where deflecting is the main part of the game, so hearing audio cues is kinda vital. There's also some visual glitches here and there, such as pop-in, screen flickering and animations for characters not playing, and this even extends sometimes into the gameplay itself. For example, on the third mission on Naboo, the AATs didn't do anything. They're actually supposed to be firing at you and posing a little bit of a challenge, but I could literally just walk past them like they weren't there. And the most egregious thing in this remaster is the game-breaking moments in the levels. Almost 3 times throughout the game I came across some kind of game-breaking bug which forced me to restart the level. For example, areas weren't opening up properly, allowing me to continue, or they would just crash entirely. And this was most frustrating when I completed what is the longest level in the game, and it just decided to freeze at the end and show me an AAT. Now, I don't know if these issues have been introduced into the remaster, or if they're issues they couldn't fix from the original game, but they are issues nonetheless. But overall, for the most part, I've got to give high praise to the game on the visual side of things, which at the end of the day is kind of the core aspect of a remaster. They have made this game look better and vastly more presentable than it did back in the day, so top marks from me. Now, for those of you that have maybe never played the game, Jedi Power Battles can be described as a kind of platformy, arcadey action game. You have a certain amount of lives, and then the game is over. You play through certain moments in the Phantom Menace, running around killing battle droids and Tusken Raiders and Jawas, and navigating the environment like a puzzle, and most of these levels end with killing some kind of boss. There's also some levels that have you driving Staps through Theed. You can also drive AATs, and there's a bunch of optional bonus missions where you can actually kind of play football, but using Jar Jar Binks as the ball, who runs away whenever you hit him, and you have to kind of guide him into the enemy's net, which is quite funny to play. And you can go into these levels playing as a variety of characters from the Phantom Menace, like Mace Windu, Qui-Gon, Adi Gallia, Obi-Wan, and fair play to Aspyr, they have added a fair few extra characters to play, like Jar Jar himself and droidekas and Tuskens and so forth, which gives the game a little bit more variety in this remaster that you didn't have in the original. And as you play through these levels, you'll begin to level up the character you're playing as, which allows you to unlock more health, more force powers, and more lightsaber combos to use during combat. And as I mentioned a little bit earlier, the difficulty of this game is quite high. You get killed very quickly by enemies, the platforming can be very precise, and in places the checkpoints can be extremely unforgiving. And there's a few levels here and there where you'll find yourself just repeating it over and over again because you're forced to start from the beginning. And while I didn't get the opportunity to play it, the game does give you the option of an easy mode, although I'm not entirely sure how much easier it makes the game. On top of that, the game does feature seamless couch co-op, something I do remember doing as a child, but I didn't have the opportunity to play that for this review either. Unfortunately though, there's no online option to play with friends, so if you want to play co-op, which is kind of how this game is designed actually, you need to be with each other directly, but hey, this is how it was played back in the day. In terms of general improvements to the gameplay, I don't think they have done too much aside from making the control scheme a little bit more modernized, so it's not as annoying as the older control systems, but you do get the option to jump back to the original controls from back in the day, so if you prefer that more old school feeling, it's there. Another small thing that they've done is they've made everything that you could unlock as you played the game accessible from the beginning without playing it. And I don't know whether I like this or not. Having everything unlocked straight away means there's less replay value. There's less desire to go in and try and find all the secret characters and somewhat, but at the same time it's, pretty damn cool just to jump into the game playing as Darth Maul straight away. So it's one of those things where it could be seen as a bad thing, but it could be good depending on your perspective and how you want to play the game. They also have a load of cheat code options which do things like give the characters massive heads, or they make them really small, or give them massive feet. And while this, idea is really fun and I've seen the screenshots, none of the cheat codes worked for me in the game. I was given access to all of the cheat codes beforehand by Aspyr, and I was using an Xbox controller on Steam, and none of them worked, not a single one, so do keep that in mind. So as we come to the closing stages of the video, let's circle back to the overarching question. Is Star Wars Episode 1 Jedi Power Battles worth you buying? Now, it is about £15 in the UK and about $18 to $20 in the United States, so they're not asking for an extortionate amount of money. And if this game is one that you grew up with, I actually do recommend playing this remaster. It is the exact same game from 25 years ago, but it just looks so much better. It has the same amount of challenge, it's equally as fun just running around slicing things up as iconic characters from the Phantom Menace with that iconic music. And so for those of you that are wanting a nostalgic hit, yeah, I do recommend the game. But for those of you that haven't played it though, it really comes down to what kind of game you're wanting. If you're just wanting an old school Star Wars classic that you never got the chance to play, it is a lot of fun and it is worth playing at least once. But if you're expecting a Star Wars game that's going to blow your mind, or a Star Wars game you're going to sink lots of hours into, or is going to leave a significant impression, then you're probably better off waiting for a sale, as you're not going to get any of those things with this remaster. But from a nostalgia point of view, this game does improve the original in almost every way, so take that how you will. Anyway, that is enough yapping from me. I really appreciate if you got this far into the video, and if you enjoyed the review, then don't forget to hit the like button and share, because it helps me out so much. And if you haven't, perhaps consider subscribing to be a part of my wonderful Star Wars community. And finally, if you want more awesome Star Wars content, you should check this video out. It's my review for another Star Wars classic from 20 odd years ago that Aspyr remastered at the back end of last year that I think you'll like. I'll see you there.